Slide. There we go. So today we're going to talk about 3 ways to drive money into your business. And obviously this is an ASBAS presentation for Business Stations and RDA Brisbane. So they're the people who employed me and who signed you up to do this little presentation. So we're going to cover 3 things. And I could have done this in reverse order, but I thought I'd do it this way because that's the way they normally come into your business. So we're covering leads and lead magnets and how to generate new prospects. And we're going to cover how to follow up with those people if they don't take action straight away. And then we're going to talk about long-term marketing to a database that you create from those 2 other activities. So a lot of people, they don't think about what they want to do when they start generating leads online. And it's very important that you realise that only a small number of people are actually going to, 1, interact with you straight away, and 2, do something. So you need to have a long-term game in place to make sure that you get the most out of your digital and any other marketing that you're doing, really. So I try and craft all these 3 things, or at least have an idea about how these 3 things are going to work before you even start. So, so just about me, I've been 30 years in business, not always for myself, but I've always been in the sort of marketing business development game, and I've always really had a very close eye on return on investment. So I'm an engineer by profession, so I don't like to do things if they're not going to work, for instance. And I like to test and measure things, and need to be that way in business. I see a lot of people making the mistake of investing lots of time and money into 1 or 2 things, and if they don't work, it really puts you in a very poor position. So, look, before we start, I just wanted to ask. So, Eve, you've already told me a little bit about what you're doing. So, Jeanette, what are you sort of hoping to get out of today? Is there anything particular?
Well, no, I just wanted to see. I was interested in the topic, and more obviously, having caught up for coffee, David, you know that I'm in. I've identified a couple of services that I can offer. So, bottom line is, I've just got to get website stuff done and all that sort of thing. Okay. You know the story. Yes.
And Po, what about you? What are you hoping to get out of today's little presentation?
I've just started a blogging website. I'm only starting to add content onto the website, and I hope to be able to add e-commerce store in the future.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do now is to learn all about all this stuff.
Okay.
There's a lot to learn.
Well, that's right. And it's important that you don't get sort of overwhelmed, I think. So, so basically, we'll power on, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. And depending how quickly I finish these slides, they should take about 45 minutes to 50 minutes, and then we can have a talk about things in the end. So basically, what's changed over this whole year is because there's so many more things happening online, it's taking a lot longer for people to convert. We're seeing a lot more people revisiting websites. Bounce rates haven't necessarily gone up, so that means that's when people sort of hit your website and then leave straight away. That hasn't really gone up. But what's happened is people are not taking the action in the first couple of interactions. We're seeing people come back multiple times to the same pages on the website. We're seeing them coming to shopping carts, get 90% through the whole process, and then try and leave. And that's probably due to the fact that there's so many more things available online, and there's probably even a lot more people going online that maybe wouldn't have done that previously, just because of the changes with the COVID situation. Other thing we're seeing is it really works so well if you put the same message across all your channels. So if you're using LinkedIn, Facebook, a website, any email marketing, any sort of other media that you're doing, if you put the same message across all your channels at the same time, it works a lot better because people see you popping up, you know, whether they're Googling you or you've got remarketing working. If they see a similar message in several places, they're more likely to take action. So we just did some Black Friday campaigns, and they worked as well as they have in the past. Probably even, you know, last year was a bit of a standout, but this year they worked as well as they did last year. But we did a whole lot more activities to get that same sort of conversion. So it just helps if you have it across all channels. And remember that advertising is only one part of marketing. A lot of people get hung up on doing ads or doing one-off promotions, and that, you know, sure, you'll get a return on that, but it's not the end game. So we talk to people about try and make sure that your marketing aligns with your business outcome. So if you want some people to enroll in your $1,000 course, or you want to sell blog posts or whatever you're doing in your business, you have to sort of make sure the marketing is driving towards that. I see a lot of people doing stuff on Facebook that's got nothing to do with their end game, and I think that's a real danger if you get caught by one of these social media gurus who will tell you to put a whole lot of content out there without any real outcomes. So if you come up with a plan, stick to the plan, and then automate as much of it as you can. So if you've got activities happening, especially if they're in large numbers, if there's only 5 or 10 things that are happening, then it's probably okay. But if you've got hundreds of people accessing information, then you really need to automate that. There's no way you can manage that in a spreadsheet or just doing it yourself from information that's coming in. So they're probably the key things that we look at. And with lead magnets, so if you're trying to drive new leads into your business, you really need to use a lead magnet. It's pretty silly to advertise on Facebook and or Google and not have somewhere for people to land, which is not just your website, right? You need to have something a little bit different. It needs to be something that they can download or interact with without having to necessarily talk to you or do something with you. So we find guides and reports, you know, they've always worked pretty well, but they're working as well as ever now. Little one-off cheat sheets or checklists, handouts, those sort of things are working as well as they ever used to. You know, resource lists and toolkits where you've collated information potentially from other people. All of those things work as well as they've ever worked, and it's really important that you have them in mind, even if you don't use them every time. It's really good if someone asks you for something, you know, well, what's your, you know, what would you recommend as a reading list, for instance, or what would you recommend I do next? If you've got that you can just send to someone straight away, that really increases your credibility, and you know, it makes it much easier for you to communicate with that person. And the other thing that's always worked really well in Australia is competitions. Doesn't have to be anything really amazing. We often recommend that people have a competition that someone can win either a part of their product or service or one of their smaller products. But competitions work as well as they ever did, and there's so many online tools that you can access to run them. So I'll show you one in a minute. And then the actual lead magnets themselves, I've got a couple of examples here that we're going to have a quick look at. But it's really good to be very specific. Like, make it about something that's about your business. So for you, Eve, you were talking about your book before. Maybe you'd take one of the key points out of your book, for instance, and that could be just a little one pager or some sort of report that you could download. For you, if you're promoting a blogging site, maybe you just talk about your last couple of blogs that you posted, or one that converted the best or created the most interest. So you just pick one thing out of something that you've already done and just make that into the lead magnet. Testimonials are good. So if you've got someone who's raving about your service, it's always good to have at least one of those in your lead magnet, so people sort of can see, okay, well, he's done something for someone. This is what they said about him. And always have a call to action. So anything that you send anyone, whether it's just a little piece of, you know, one little checklist or whatever, ask them to do something. I've asked them to fill it out, ask them to reply to your email if they want more information, ask them to give you a call, at least request an action, because if you don't do that, then people don't know what to do, right? So the easiest thing is, you know what you want them to do, so at least ask them to do that. So then you've got an excuse to use someone like Jeanette to call them on your behalf. If you said, I'm going to call you, or can you call me, and they don't do it, then at least when you do call them and say, hey, I sent you something, I said I was going to call you, and here's the follow-up call. So I'm going to talk about the actual process around this. So what we do is we drive traffic normally to a landing page. Look, it doesn't even have to be that simple, that complicated, but a landing page is really good, and you include the lead magnet as part of that process and a bit of follow-up. So here's a landing page that we did probably about 6 weeks ago. This was for a company that sells generators. So the actual ad was on Facebook. There was a Google ad, and it just said, if you're confused about which generator to buy for your next camping trip or whatever, download this free generator buying guide, and it'll tell you some things about the generators that are on the market now. So I'm not exactly sure what was included in this. We were really careful with some of the people we work with to not bag competitors or even include competitors in there, but you can include information about it. The whole idea is landing page, you're driving them to a specific site, you want their name and email address, and then you're going to send them whatever it is that you've created. So the whole idea of that is it's an exchange of value. You're giving them something for free effectively, but you want their details. And they can't get it unless they go down that path. One thing that could have improved this is if someone didn't want to do that online, we could have included, hey, if you don't want to enter your details online, call this number and you can order it over the phone. So that could have been something that we could have improved on that. Or we could have made it that you send us an email to this email address, and then we'll email it back to you. So we could have done a few things differently there. This has actually converted quite well. We've run this ad quite a few times, and it produces a pretty good result every time. So this is what
ask just with ads, sorry if that's okay to interrupt. So yep. With the Facebook ad, would the person have said, okay, well, I'm going to send it to all of Australia or this range of people? Is all of that thinking going into when you push out an ad?
Yeah, I would never recommend it sending it to all of Australia in a Facebook ad. And actually, there's a couple of, just as you mentioned that, I was just working with a couple of clients last week, and they actually had a database of, I think this lady had about 3,500 people in her email database. If you've got that sort of number of people in your database, in fact, if you've got over 1,000 people in your database, there's a really cool trick that you do on Facebook where you actually upload that whole email list to the people's first name, their email list, their email address, and their phone number, and you can upload that to Facebook as a custom audience. And then when you create your ad, you tell Facebook to find a lookalike audience, which is just like those people. And that works like it's still, we've been using that for 7 or 8 years, and it works as well as it ever did. It really targets people. Then you don't have to worry about picking parameters about whether what they like and all that sort of thing. It still works very well, and it'll reduce your ad spend. If you go to an audience like that who's likely to be more likely to click on your link and then take the action, Facebook will actually reward you and charge you less for each click. So that whole process is very, very good. There's a whole science around that. So,
David, I was going to say, have you done a session on that? Are you able to do a session? I've done, obviously, through ASBAS, different digital webinars on Facebook research and how to do ads and all that sort of stuff. But, and I've been aware of that tool or strategy, but you really need to know how to do it properly, I guess.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. That's actually a very good point, Jeanette. I might put that down as something to do next year, actually.
And you could generate some business out.
You could indeed. So yeah, there's a whole topic around there. But yeah, being very specific in your Facebook and Google ads is really important. Otherwise, you can waste a lot of money. But the point is, right, even if your ad's not that good and it's not that specific, if you get a click and the click comes to something like this, a landing page like this, they're much more likely to convert than if you tried to take them to something just to buy something now. The chances of that working are far, far lower than this. This is a low value transaction. It's basically a no cost exchange of information, much more likely to get a conversion from that process. So when we first ran this generator guide, we got 171 leads in 9 days, and I think the leads were like less than 50 cents each on Facebook clicks. And then we ran a simpler one for a camping cookbook about a month later, and it worked a little bit better. And that's because it wasn't actually, you know, this one's very targeted. This is trying to get people to eventually buy a generator. This one was more about anyone who's interested in camping and cooking while camping. So so that one actually worked a lot better. And the problem is that the item we were selling at the end of that process wasn't actually that company's information or its product. It was actually a third-party product, but it's still converted, still made them some money. And this is I mentioned competitions before. We run competitions for a lot of our clients, but this one is actually something that you can just plug straight into your Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, or whatever shopping cart you're running. This plugin will plug into any of those systems. And what it does, it's actually just a little spin wheel, you know, the same sort of thing you might see at the fair. You have to put your email address in, and you know, obviously they can put a bogus one in if they want, but if they put their email address in and spin the wheel, they can get whatever the prize is on this wheel. And that has worked gangbusters. We've got, I think there's about 4,500 leads we've generated using this over the last probably 8 weeks or 9 weeks. It's worked better than anything else we've ever tried. So this is a tool from a company called Optimuck. They're a European business. It's specifically designed for Shopify shopping carts. But and there's quite a few of these tools around now. You can see them all the time.
I've used one.
Yes, but they work really well. You've probably even seen them yourself as you've been surfing around looking for Christmas offers or whatever. There's lots of websites that are using them. So they do work very, very well. So keep that in mind if you've got a shopping cart and you don't want to bother with lead magnets and all those sort of things. You could just use this. It'll get you the same result. It'll basically get you the person's email address. So, but if you do all that, you've got their email address. You know, you've sent them potentially the information that they requested. Now you need to do something with it, right? Because most people, they're not going to act on the first contact. You know, they'll download the item, the free thing, and then they'll do nothing. You know, they'll sit on it until they're really, unless they're really keen to buy something, right? And what happens is, this is true even today, 50% of people don't follow up. So they get the first contact. If the person doesn't take the action straight away, they just don't follow up, which is just amazing to me. You know, you're spending all that money and time on lead generation. You at least should follow up 2 times. So the first, whatever happens first, follow up again. And if you follow up more than 4 times, you'll find that virtually no one does that. It's almost like after the 3rd or 4th time, virtually no one does that. But prospects need to see you, or this number changes all the time, but at least, you know, it's at least 5 to 10 times before they'll actually take an action. So if you don't follow up, you're really going to miss out on getting the best benefit out of any leads that come into your business. And even a referral, so someone who's been referred to you, you know, you might have to call them, you might have to send some information, they'll then check you out online, you know, there might be a quote sent to them, then there might be some follow-up. You know, they will at least take a number of interactions before they make a purchase from you. So it's really important that you do that. So after information is sent, you definitely need to follow up. If you book something, hopefully you got a reminder for this meeting today from ASBAS website, but that sort of thing. If someone schedules something with you, you definitely need to make sure that there's a reminder set. And this is the key one. We've had a lot of success with businesses when they send a quote and it doesn't get accepted. In good times when it's really busy, obviously, you probably don't really care if only half your quotes get accepted or only 30% get accepted. But if things are quiet and or you're not meeting your targets, that's when you need to follow up. We do a lot of automation for people when someone's actually made a purchase or some sort of delivery is about to start, to actually follow up and just, if there's an onboarding sequence or some sort of information that has to happen before the job actually starts, they're really good things to follow up on. And then at the end of a process, so whether a job's completed, a product's been purchased, they're absolutely the best time to follow up with someone. So, and a lot of things you can do to automate that. And obviously, if an invoice is not paid, that's a pretty critical one in small business to follow up on. So, and we also do a lot of stuff with requesting reviews and asking for referrals. So, they're all of those things are really, they're almost like you must do them in business to be successful. If you don't do those, at least those little ones, you're probably letting a lot of things go through to the keeper.
Can I just ask, with that very thorough list of things, depending on your product or service or something, I guess you vary that because it won't fit for everyone.
No, that's right. That's right.
And
exactly.
so that's like if someone's working with you, then you could say not that, that, and that, but this, this, and this sort of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But I guess it's, Eve, I guess what you're looking for is if there's in any transaction with people or any interaction with people, there might be 4 or 5 steps in the process. If they don't take the next step, then, you should at least make one attempt to get them to remember to do it, for instance. I guess that's what it boils down. It's just human nature. You get busy or whatever, and you've done the work for them. The invoice gets put in the I'll pay that at the end of the month, and then things get things happen. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I have a question.
Sure.
Can you just go back to the previous slide?
Yep.
So this is really for works that you have done for your customers, right? Say if you sell a product,
yep.
Should you be asking for some kind of review? Oh, okay. So that is the second last item, right? After you sell the product,
it is normally
you deliver the product.
Yeah.
Do you usually ask for review?
Yes, but not straight away. So what we normally do, so in that job completed step there, if that was a product being sold, we would send them a thank you instead of a job completed, right? So it's the same sort of thing, right? You're just saying you bought something from us, we've delivered it to you now. Ask them for a thank, or just thank them, and then ask them for any feedback.
Yep.
And only request reviews of people who give you positive feedback. That's probably that's the safest process, because if you ask for a review and they're not happy, the last thing you want to do is to drive them towards social media or whatever. You really want them to speak to you first. So the safest thing is to say, send them a thank you message, say, hey, thanks for buying that product. Just wanted to know how it was. If you've got any feedback, just reply to this email or give me a call. And then if they do those things, and it's a positive response, then that's when you ask them to do a review, especially if it's an online review.
Okay, I see. So you actually encourage positive feedback in a sense.
Well, you do, but if someone gives you negative feedback, you want to get onto that straight away. Or if someone's unhappy or confused, and it happens, right? You said they think they're going to get something, and you send them what you said you were going to send them, but they had a different impression. We see it all the time. There's in 10% of cases, there's a bit of confusion. People are not sure they got everything that they wanted, or it wasn't quite what they wanted. You want those people to tell you personally, not give you a review online if they weren't happy. So that's pretty much the process.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No problem. So this is just one of the ones we did for a roofing company up the Sunshine Coast. They never followed up on quotes, and it was quite amazing. And we just put this little process in place. So every job that comes out of their system now, when a quote gets sent, it actually sends the information to their CRM, their customer relationship management system, which is just it's a follow-up system basically. And we wait 3 weeks, and then we send this information. And if the person accepts in that 3-week period, that information also gets sent to the CRM, and they won't get this message. So it's basically anyone who hasn't accepted the quote. And since they've done this, it's between 20 and 30% increase in the number of quotes accepted. So basically, no one was following up, and it's pretty standard in the building trade that, especially roofing and plumbing and all those sort of guys, they just don't follow up. They send you a quote. If you don't call them back, they never see you again, basically. And just by being the one person who did follow up, they've really increased their returns. In fact, I think they've turned this off at the moment because they're a bit too busy now over this Christmas period. So, and I just thought I'd throw this in. This looks a bit complicated, but it's just really a bit of a mind map about how you can go about following up from that lead magnet. So this was the buying guide. So when someone downloads that buying or fills in that little form on the website on the landing page, they get tagged, and that tag brings them into the CRM. This is Keep Infusionsoft CRM. So it brings them into the CRM. What happens here is there's a little timer, and it sends them the guide again. So they might have downloaded it straight away, but it sends it to them again. And if they click on that, we just don't do anything with them for a couple of days. So basically, they've taken the action. We wanted them to download the guide. If they don't do that, we'll send them another reminder about the guide, and then we just push them into this next sequence. And this next sequence is actually just telling them about the products that were in the guide. So we're trying to make a sale, basically. And if they click on, there's 4 different types of products in that guide, and if depending on which one they click on, then we send them a reminder which is about that particular product they clicked on. So it's just trying to basically segment them a little bit so they don't get a whole lot of messages they don't want, for instance, or if they tell us that they wanted a particular, this is a little generator, this one here, the EU10, if they want a little one, we're not going to send them information about the big one. And then if they buy, the actual buying process is linked, the e-commerce site is linked into this system. So if they buy anything, we just stop the whole process. So it's basically, the whole idea was, sure, we were trying to send them some information with the guide, but what we really wanted to do is we wanted to sell them a generator. So if they actually buy the generator, we're going to stop the whole thing, because then they go into the thank you sequence, right? So that's pretty much how you set up a really basic automation. And in most CRMs, whether it's ActiveCampaign, you can do this in the paid version of MailChimp too. It doesn't work quite as well, but you can do most, ActiveCampaign, Constant Contact, even HubSpot. There's a whole lot of systems that will do this for you, but it's only worth doing if you've got 1, a bit of volume, and 2, several products that are available where some automation would actually help make the message better. If you don't have that, then I would say just use MailChimp and at least do 1 follow-up. So, all right, so this is where the rubber really hits the road, because those couple of things we talked about there, the lead magnets and then the follow-up steps, that they are really for people to try and take either the first action or the next action. If people don't do that at all, like if someone downloaded that buying guide, but then didn't take any of the actions that we tried to get them to take initially, then you need to put them into a long-term nurture process. And the whole idea here is, sure, look, we know they were interested because they did something, but obviously they're not ready to buy now. So we've got to keep in contact with them, try and find out what they want, maybe next or in a year's time or whatever. And the way to do that is with structured content, with regular offers, and the offers include a call to action, which might be to buy something. It could be to attend an event. It could be, you know, download another guide or take another step in the process. And one of the ways to do this is a copywriting formula that we use. But it was taught to me by a guy from the Sunshine Coast, and he got taught by some of the American guys, and it's a really good formula. So it's a problem solution formula, basically. And if you use that in all of your content, it'll really help with conversion, because you're talking about what people are interested in, how your solution actually provides, you know, a result for them. And just with that, a lot of people say to me, well, what do I write about? You know, sure, you can talk about problems and solutions, but what do I write about? Well, I'll just quickly show you a very basic monthly calendar that we use. You can make this as complicated as you want. There's virtually something happening every day of the year. If you look on Facebook, I actually haven't seen any this month, but there's something happening on every day. In your business, you might have seasonal and special offers. You know, I just talked about Black Friday before. That's something that's become pretty big in Australia. If you have a business that's got any relationships to birthdays and anniversaries, you know, if you're a wedding planner or you do something that's related to birthdays, for instance, then obviously that's an important bit of information for you. We do a lot of stuff around purchase dates, you know, all of our products around the warranty expiry and stuff. So it's really depends on your business, but there's always something you can think about to communicate with people. And if you set these up to just happen automatically, then you don't have to remember that it's 12 months since you know, Mary bought that course, or you know, someone downloaded something. So, and one of the things that if you don't have any of that, you just want to, and you're just saying, oh, I don't have any of those things, I just want to talk about, you know, something that's easy for me. Just talk about something in your business. So we use a lot of user-generated content. So I do marketing for the Chamber of Commerce that I'm the Vice President for. And I just use pictures of events. So we just have an event, we'll take pictures. If someone gave us a donation or someone sponsored it, we just talk about that. So I don't have to create anything. I just talk about the picture or what happened at the event, how many people attended. So you can do that really, really easily. You know, if you change something on your website or whatever, pretty easy. So here's a marketing calendar, really basic. But I use this with all my clients. If they tell me they haven't got anything that they can talk about, I go, well, really? Sure. Like I said, we did the Black Friday one, so Black Friday, Cyber Monday. In the last 2 years, they've become quite big in Australia, so you can get away with running them. Most people seem to run them for the whole week this time. So that's a good one. A lot of people are now running Christmas events, and if you're not running something for Christmas, you should definitely think about Boxing Day or the end of the year.
Hey, David, are you able to send that through as a PDF or?
Sure, I can do that.
Thank you. I've done other ones where Kerry's from the other chambers done 3 months. She says Monday, Wednesday, Friday funny, you know, that sort of stuff. So she's got a couple of key points, but this is good because it's around a calendar about what happens in Queensland, Australia Day and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
Obviously, you don't have to do them all. I try and at least do at least one a month, and then if you come up with 2, maybe one's a sales one and one's a bit more of a nurturing information one, they're always good to keep in contact.
So what you're saying, and this seems so obvious once it's told, and I haven't done it at all. I'm now on the honour roll for the Queensland domestic violence people who assist with it in all sorts of ways. And there, you know, there's Domestic Violence Month and, you know, Protection Week and all of these things, which I haven't put in the calendar.
Yep.
And, you know, that I'm just realising there's so much I haven't done. Thank you so much. This is such a useful jogger or wise thing to do.
And that's the thing, you know, in your own business, you know these things are happening, and you just assume that other people do, or you don't realise that it could be very useful information to other people. So just
yes, to sort of know that it's coming,
yes,
remind people of it, offer them a freebie, which will be a blog or something, or a page, or what to watch out for, or this is what you can do if this is happening. So always some information. And then also I'll be doing a workshop or a talk or an online event or something. And then the way you're doing it now makes sense. I just have been getting completely overwhelmed and then just stopping dead each time.
Yes. And, you know, one of the things that I didn't mention it before, but one of the things my very first digital marketing mentor, Alex Mendozian, a guy from the US, and his big thing was version 1 is better than version none. So just do something. It doesn't even have to be good. It doesn't even have to be, you don't need pretty pictures. You know, it doesn't have to be mega professional. Just doing something will have an impact, right? And so, yes, don't get hung up on it's got to be perfect, and, you know, maybe some people already know about it. Well, that's great if they do. They'll probably respond and you know, give you support or back up what you're saying. So this is this problem solution formula that we use in pretty much anything that's a bit more than, like, if it's an offer, then it's pretty simple. It's, you know, you just basically talk about what the offer is and whatever the call to action is to get the offer. But if you want something a little bit more long form, if you want to write a bit of a, you know, a one-page email, for instance, then you have to sort of, we try and make the headlines pretty short. Like for this one, the headline is, you know, 3 ways to make some more money in your business now, like something simple like that. And then you talk about, well, you know, a lot of people they spend a lot of time on email marketing or digital marketing, but they're not actually concentrating on, let's try and get a return. Let's try and get something immediate from what we're doing. And if you know you've already offered someone to buy something and they haven't done that action, then take it back a step. You know, what would they do before they bought something? Would they want some more information? Are they frequently asked questions you can send them? So you sort of try and work out, well, what's the communication plan to get to where we want to go? So the problem is, you know, what are we trying to solve? And then you can, if you wanted to make it a bit long form, you add in, well, what's it like after you've solved the problem? All right, so you're looking for these 3 steps to get more money in your business. If you solved at least one of them and you had, you know, a 10% increase in revenue for the month, what would that look like in your business, right? And then your solution is, well, hey, all you really need to do is follow up. You follow up one time on the critical steps that are not being taken by the people you're talking to, whether they're a client or a hot prospect. Just one follow-up when you ask someone to do something could be all you need to do to come up with the solution. And then you have the testimonial. You know, I could use that roofing person, Jacqueline from the roofing company. She was really, really happy when we introduced that quote follow-up process, because it actually, her husband's the manager of the business, right? And her target was to increase the turnover by 20%. Well, she pretty much did it with that one step. So her whole year's target was achieved by just doing one round of follow-up to people who'd not accepted quotes. And then obviously the call to action is, you know, click here, call now, come into the store, whatever it is, come to my webinar. And you sort of, someone's just trying to join right now. It's a bit weird. So it's pretty much start with the end in mind, and then from the action work back to what you actually want them to do. All right, so I just thought I'd quickly show you this. This is a bit detailed. You probably can't read it all, but this is probably the longest sort of email marketing that we do. I wouldn't normally do one this long, but the client was really keen to this is last year's Black Friday, and the client was really, really keen to use a whole lot of things. So they did a little video. They wanted to, really point out some of the key features. We had a timer, so there was a countdown timer. So because we only offered this for 2 days, I think that thing ticking away sort of helped get conversion. There's the ability to call them. If you didn't want to call them, this one doesn't have the email one, but the other version of it had click this button to send us an email. Here's the link. If people don't want to actually click the link, they can actually type that into their browser. There's a Facebook link, a YouTube link. So all the elements that you probably want in an email campaign, that one had it. Oh, there's testimonials here as well, right? So it's pretty much that's as complicated as it ever gets with that PASPA formula, and that whole campaign was a sensation. They sold more generators in one day than they had all year, basically. So it worked pretty well.
Can I be, because I'm a non-advertising person, the one that's not there is how much discount off the normal price it was. There's nothing that says you're saving, $700.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, it does say that if you actually click through to it, it's got that on the next level. One thing we needed to be careful with was because this, you can't always guarantee that you're not sending this to someone who's already bought one maybe 2 months ago. So we actually, anytime we put a discount on from a recommended retail price, we always get some pushback. So we're better off we've found over time, we're better off just saying what the dollar value is now. So you can definitely do that. You can definitely have if it was a standard price and you're providing a one-off discount, you would definitely do that. You'd have the recommended retail price or the normal price and then the discount.
Interesting.
For this market, yeah, I don't know. We've had some pushback on that, so we don't do it.
Interesting, thanks.
You've always got to listen to those Facebook complaints or people who put comments in there. You must take action on those ones. So.
Sorry, I have a question.
Sure.
So, say if you do an online promotion, all these the 5 elements that you mentioned, they should all be on one page, right? Is it?
Oh well, you don't have to use them all, right? And this is where you can test and measure. So what I was saying before is if you just wanted to make it a really quick thing, then all you do is you advertise the solution, which is whatever you're trying to sell, and you might not even put the brief in. You could just do the solution and what you want them to do, right? So you might just do. And I think in that one that I just showed you, there was a follow-up email after that, and pretty much all we did was we just sent this last bit. Like it was a really short email, the follow-up one, and even that converted quite well because it was basically a reminder saying, hey, by the way, you clicked on this before, are you still interested? It's still available. And it was just it was probably only this much information in the second one because they'd sort of already read the first one because they clicked on the link. So yeah, you don't have to put that in every time. The reason I put this in there is if you want some long-term nurturing to happen and you want to talk about some of the things that you help fix, you have to sort of include that in the email.
Say for example, you're going to launch some kind of promotion on a certain date, Black Friday, for example. So what kind of leading events that you need to do to basically draw attention before the sales?
Well, for something like Black Friday or Boxing Day or maybe Christmas, probably don't need to be too much in front of the date because people obviously know that there's going to be a sale, especially if you've done it before. But if it's an event or something that's a bit unique to your business, then you definitely want to be a couple of weeks ahead of the game, which is why you have to have that calendar. Like you have to know that in say February you're going to run a Valentine's Day promotion. You probably don't want to wait till the first week in February to start talking about that. You might talk about that in January, for instance. And look, if you're running a regular communication, if you're communicating every month, one of the things you can do is the last point in say the January bit of communication is you talk about what you're going to do in February. And the same in February, the last point in February, you say, you know, in March, we're going to run a pre-Easter promotion or something, right? So you just allude to what's going to happen next.
Oh, yes, I understand.
Yeah. All right, so here we go to talk about 10 minutes, all right? So in summary, look, whatever content you produce or whatever information you put together, don't just use it in one channel. You know, don't just use it in your emails. Put it on LinkedIn. Put a post on Facebook. If you've got an ability to put a blog or a new bit of content on your website, do that as well. Basically, if you do networking events, talk about it there. So try and be on all the channels where you can put the information. The customer experience, that's what I was saying before about be consistent. Like a lot of people I see, they actually try and put too many messages out at the one time. Like I don't know, just if you're following someone on Facebook, for instance, I don't like people who put, you know, 3 or 4 messages a month. It just confuses people. Like if you're going to run a Christmas promotion, just talk about your Christmas promotion. Don't talk about anything else, right? It just confuses the information about your company. So, and you know, it's important that you actually respond quickly when something happens, whether someone clicks on a link, if someone requests a meeting with you, if you're using live chat on your website or something. If something happens and people expect a response, make sure you do that. And if you can't do it, try and delegate it to someone else. That's one of the worst things that can happen, is that people click on something and they don't get a response. I think, was that Eve? Eve, you were talking about that before, about your SEA person, how you requested something and they didn't respond to you.
Yes, twice I left my name and details. But when you're saying that, I'm just sitting here so embarrassed, because when my website went up and the launch happened late the previous year, I've had a few people sign on to MailChimp and I have not once sent anything out. I've just been so overwhelmed and just lost this year of what to do. And I'm still finishing off my clinic. I am so embarrassed hearing you say all of that. So I have to do better, surely.
But now, the good news is now is the perfect time to do it, right? So
Okay.
don't do anything salesy. If you haven't talked to someone for a whole year or even longer, all you need to do.
I've never even acknowledged it. I mean, the MailChimp went through, but I haven't done anything to say, hey, welcome, which is just embarrassing.
Well, all you need to do is just send them a Christmas wish. So just say, you know, just basically that. Just say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Tell them about, but maybe you could put a little paragraph about what you're planning to do early next year, and just say you're looking forward to catching up in the future. So something really simple, couple of paragraphs. Just wish them happy holidays if you don't want to use Christmas or whatever. That's all you need to do. Perfect time.
I was going to say, David, now is the perfect time to connect using messages on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So one year I sent 250 messages through LinkedIn wishing people a Merry Christmas and then asked them if they wanted a coffee chat. And then I ended up with about 50 coffee chats through January and early February. So,
Wow, that's a good response, actually.
And obviously I knew them, or that I hadn't spoken to them for a number of years. So, and people are looking, and they are more happy to catch up with you in January because they're more relaxed and all of that sort of stuff.
Use technology, there you go. And actually that's a really good point about LinkedIn and this time of year. So this could be relevant for you too, Eve, if you've got a number of people on LinkedIn who you have connected with. Now is a really good time to just try and reconnect with people. So as Jeanette said, send a Christmas message on LinkedIn. You have to sort of individually copy and paste that, but it's not that hard to do. That's one way to do it. The other way is just to post some stuff over the Christmas break, because what tends to happen is a lot of professionals, probably not between Christmas and New Year, they're probably doing their family things between Christmas and New Year, but the first week in January, we always find a big spike in response to LinkedIn connection requests and information, because the professionals are at home and they're sort of maybe a bit over their family potentially, and they're actually keen to connect. You find the same, haven't you, Jan?
Yes,
Yeah.
and being sales and business development, do not, and I'm a salesperson, when you connect with someone, do not in the second message try and sell them something.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I hate it. I mean, you need to have a conversation. You've got to take the conversation offline, don't you agree, David? You want to have a phone conversation or a Zoom meeting to find out more about their business, and then they find out more about your business, and to see whether there's any value proposition for them. But if you don't want to sell them your services straight away, they may not need your service for a start. Yeah.
That's 100% true, and also it's the same basically on any digital platform. If they don't respond to the sales message, don't keep hammering the sales message. It's really, take it a step back. They've obviously got some interest, so just try and find out where that interest came from. And as you say, Jeanette, one of the best ways to do that is to take it offline. Don't try and do something online if they haven't converted. Try and get them to talk to you or come to a meeting, basically. And look, webinars still work. Webinars have never been as big in Australia as they have in the US. So a lot of the US gurus will try and get you to run these pre-recorded webinars. I find they don't work as well as an in-person one. And even having a webinar with 2 or 3 people is better than, is good. You can get some really good value out of it. Not dissimilar to what we're doing now.
Yes, because obviously during COVID, we've had to do webinars, and ASBAS have offered quite a few, but the fact that they're recorded and you get sent the recording, it allows you to actually go through the webinar again and to, for example, I've done a LinkedIn Optimised one. It allows you to follow along with the video and then do the step in your LinkedIn or your content or whatever. So, yeah, it's useful from that aspect.
It is, definitely is.
Yeah. Hey, so David, is this going to be posted on Business Station, the recording, or are we going to be sent the link, aren't we, anyway?
Yes, that's right. So what will happen now is I share the recording to Business Stations. Business Stations will put it up on their...
There's tons on Business Station.
Yeah, they will, but I've got your email addresses, so I could actually send it to you. I can send you the link to the recording. So if you want me to do that, I can do that.
Yeah, please.
And I can also send you a copy of the slides if you want as well. So
yeah, that would be handy.
I'll just convert them to a PDF and send them to you as well.
David, this might be another webinar down the track, but there are so many CRM systems, and a lot of SMEs don't have one or they don't use it. So obviously having a system like MailChimp and or a CRM system, you need those tools, don't you agree? So I don't think I've seen anything on ASBAS about CRM systems. I mean, there's been MailChimp workshops, which I've done, but nothing on the CRM systems, and there's a lot of CRM systems out there. So
I've done one before, and we did have a battle of the CRMs at some point.
Oh, that's right. That's on. I should look that up on Business Station. Hey, that's on Business Station, isn't it?
The one thing I'd say about that is it actually the system that won that battle wasn't actually a CRM. So it was the questions that were asked and the way it was pushed really were an advantage to the person who won. So it's just, and really it comes down to return on investment. So there's no, like, you wouldn't buy a $200 a month CRM system that can link to a shopping cart if you didn't have products that can actually support that. There's no point doing that. That would be a waste of money. Like I said before, if you've you just want to do a monthly newsletter, if you just want to do a follow-up to someone signing up to something, you can definitely do that in MailChimp. If you've only got a couple of hundred contacts, I would say definitely do that in MailChimp or one of the other free versions. I think Constant Contact, and there's another one.
Yes. Yep.
MailerLite, I think it's called, that has free versions. So those, if you just want to keep in contact and you just want to keep track of who opened the emails and who clicked and who unsubscribed, those free systems are really good. But if you want to do some serious automation, you just cannot do it in those systems. So
yeah.
But if you're going to spend the $100 a month and then the time to put the system together, you want to make sure it's going to actually get a return for you.
And with you talking the way you have, some of what I want to do, because I am at the stage of life I am, is just to actually put little snippets of something useful so they don't have to buy it, they don't have to do anything. It's just about what do you do if someone treats you a certain way, and to identify what's going on, to identify your own response. What's that? They're just some really shorthand things, so what we're talking about is that I can do that if I send out a monthly thing, as this happened to you, sort of thing with these 4 sentences of solutions. But that I can do easily. When you said monthly, that's only 12 a year. For goodness sake, I can do 12 a year. I can set them up for the whole year already.
Well, that's what you can. And you can schedule them in Facebook if you wanted to use that as your tool. So that's right. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Well, we're out of time, guys. So thanks for that. If you want to ask me any other questions, that's my email address there, info@optimised.net.au. Or you're welcome to give me a call if you want to do that. Like I said, I'll send these slides as a PDF, so you'll have that information, and you can always book me or any of the other advisors through the ASBAS portal to do a one-to-one session if you want to ask specific questions about your business. And look, our whole job is to try and get you the best answer we can. It's not about trying to sell you anything. So it's well worth having those one-to-ones if you've got a specific question about anything. So
Thanks, David.
All right. Thank you guys for attending. And
thank you.
No problem. Have a good Christmas.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.